folks. This is one of the last videos you're probably going to have with me. My goal today is to get you thinking about how you can get started on your design, and how to progress through making your design in Civil 3D. So my general recommendation today is that you start with roads. And then once you have roads roughly laid out, you can move to parcels, and you're going to learn how to use the parcel creation tool today on your own. You can make use of any resources that you want to guide you. My biggest recommendation is to use Google and YouTube videos. If you like ChatGPT, you can use that. If you prefer to stay away from it, that's totally fine. There are a lot of good YouTube videos out there. But that parcel creation tool is going to be your friend in terms of labeling your lots. So again, my goal is to get you started today, get you thinking about what you're doing, but learning tools and progressing through this final design is up to you, and up to you to use your resources and interact with your colleagues, use Google to learn new tools. And in fact, that is one of the goals of CE 271 and your program in civil engineering, which is to learn new tools and apply new tools. It's actually required by ABET that we show that you do this. It isn't just coming from us, it's also coming from all of you. So in terms of getting started, I'm just using a blank document here. You're going to want to open whatever you did last week. You can always start from a clean copy if you sort of don't like how you drew your lots, or you can save that, save it as something new, and work from what you had before, but save what you had before. It's up to you. So I want to remind you of a couple things. One, we have both lines and polylines or P lines. For the purposes of this project, you are going to want to use P lines as much as possible. They are connected, which is going to make some things easier. For setbacks, you're going to probably want to use lines and redraw them. I will show you that in a second. So first, drawing your roads. Again, use P lines. The command is P line. My recommendation is to select a color that represents your center line. You created layers last time. Use those layers to go to whatever that layer is. I'm going to call it C road center, just for the purposes of here. And I'm going to draw P lines. And I want to show you some things that we can do with P lines. So in this case, I'm just sort of drawing lines willy-nilly. Today, you are probably going to want to include curves. So you have sizes of curves, you have a radius. The first thing that I want to show you is how you can draw curves using the information, the design information that you have from the Saldo. So we're actually going to do something a little bit different than what you would expect. Instead of drawing a curve, we are actually going to draw a circle. So I'm going to click on my circle options. I can do a center and radius, center diameter, 2 point, 3 point. What we want is tan radius. This is basically the same way that we think about designing horizontal curves in lecture. So I'm going to click on tan radius, and we're going to see what it gives me. So the first thing it says is specify a point on an object for the first tangent. So all I'm doing is selecting the line that is my first tangent. And then it asks me for the second tangent. That is my second line. I'm going to click that. Then it asks me for a radius of circle. I'm going to type in a random number here. You're going to want to type in the number that you have based on the Saldo. So I'm going to say 800, and it's not 800, it's something different. And what we get is a circle. And you're probably like, oh, Professor Kelleher, why is this helpful? Well, we also have the trim feature. So up here, I'm going to go to trim. And now I can trim away the other parts of the circle and my tangent lines to get a really nice looking curve. I'm going to show you the same exact thing over here. I'm going to go to my tan radius. I'm going to specify the start. I'm going to specify the end, and I'm going to keep my radius at whatever I set it to, and I get a really nice looking curve that I can then trim. So in this case, if I try to erase the whole thing, it actually does that. So now I have curves. My encouragement is to draw everything as those tangent lines, those straight lines first, and then you can add curves as needed. When drawing your roads, my recommendation is to draw your center line first. So draw your center line, and then you can use offset at whatever distances to create your roadway on either side or your cartway on either side and your right of way. So in this case, again, I don't know what these numbers are. Everybody should be using them. Let's say I have a 10-foot offset from my center line. I'm going to select my object, and then I can offset on either side. And the same works for my curve. You are going to want to use different layers for different parts of your road. So in this case, I can select these different lines, and if I want to move them to a new layer, remember, you can go up here and just by selecting them and clicking a new line, you can move them to that new line. So we have our center lines, we have a cartway, we'll add a right of way, and I actually today will tell you to add a curb. So I have information on what those criteria are. Again, you're primarily using offset to do this. So once you have this whole thing laid out, you have your right of way. Let's make up a right of way just for S's and G's. Let's do an offset. I'm going to still offset from the center line. I'm going to specify the offset distance as a number. You should be using the number from this saldo. Okay. I'm going to move this to my new layer, whatever that is. Okay. Once I have done that, I'm going to unselect these. Brr. If it will let me, maybe it won't. There we go. Reminder, you have snaps down here that you can turn off and on. If you go to this, it's going to give you different options here. You're going to want to use different options depending on what you're doing. Try them out is my encouragement. Okay, so if we have a ROW, we eventually add curbs to the side of this. We can include a sidewalk if you want. Now you're ready to start drawing your lots. So in this case, you should have a separate line for lots. So I'm going to put it on a random layer. And in this case, well, that's really close to the other one. Let's do green. Okay. So when you are drawing your lots, my encouragement again is to use P-lines. You can do curves in your lots. So if you want to do a curve, my recommendation would be to offset your tan radius line over here. Again, you can trim this down. So if I want to make a lot over here, I'm just going to draw around the edges in whatever ways I want. And I'm going to escape to draw a curve over here. Again, you're going to want to, you would initially offset this, right? Offset distance of 20. I'm going to use these. My encouragement, still, these will be P-lines the way that we've drawn them, is to, you can duplicate these, you can copy them, and this will be the edge of your lot over here. And then you can draw a P-line around it. So if this is V node, a sewer, I can draw another P-line that represents the edges of this lot. You can have curved parts to your lot. And so that would be considered closed, which is what we want for things that you're eventually going to do. You can add curved parts to the front. My encouragement is to stick with square parts to the back areas. Keep things square, except for around curves. I also allow cul-de-sacs if you prefer. But in general, I would say end your lots with squares. Now, here's the problem. If I go to do my setbacks and I click on offset, again, let's say I have a setback of 15 feet. If I click on this, it is going to offset everything at 15 feet. So my encouragement is when you're doing offsets, I would say you're actually gonna redraw these as lines, and you're just gonna get rid of them. So I have lines here, and all I'm gonna do is say offset. I wanna keep it at 15 from the sides. So I'm gonna offset inward, and let's say it's 30 from the back. I'm gonna say offset 30. Okay, I'm on my offset layer. Now I'm just gonna delete those lines that I drew, right? Another alternative, so again here, I wanna offset this, maybe my build to line is 10 feet back. Whatever it is, you're gonna use that guidance. So, oops, I'm zooming in here. I want offset, I want 10 feet. I'm clicking this line and I'm offsetting up. I wanna move this to that other layer. And in this case, right, you'll need to trim that and that's okay. Or maybe you don't want to trim it because you know you're going to need that for the other parts of the lot. So in each of these cases, right, you can trim away that little extra part to really show just the offset pieces, to really show just the area where you are allowed to build on each lot. You can always zoom in and get rid of those little pieces in the middle. So that is the way I would recommend approaching the tasks that you're doing today. Remember to use your layer properties. Remember to save early and often. I will also say, as you do this, right, you are going to at some point want to use the parcel creation tools. And I would say draw a couple lots and then try them out. You, in your memo this week, you're explaining your justification for where you're going to place certain things on your lot. And you're also explaining the process of using the partial creation tool. It's actually pretty cool, and I think you're going to like it, but it relies on key lines. All right, folks, I am turning you loose. Have fun, start making your lots. And if you have questions, you know where to find me, probably at the front of AUC 302.